Hello, chefs. Good evening. We are back again. I'm Isaiah, young Jedi chef, here with the Dragon Warrior chef, German Lamb, and we will be your host for today's podcast. You're listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Ariane with us to talk about taking risks. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So without further ado, I'll let the star of our show, Chef Ariane, to introduce herself. Chef?
Hello, hello, hello. Isaiah, Chef Lamb, thank you for having me. This is really exciting. So yes, like you said, my name is Ariane Duarte. I am a chef. I'm an entrepreneur. Right now, currently, I am I'm a catering chef as well as working for a few celebrity chefs. I can do some name dropping if you want. Little Carla Hall
Go
and
for
Amanda
it.
Hall and Amanda Freitag. I just worked with Chef Robert Irvine, which was a lot of fun. That's been really fun in my career right now. I'm also a mom, a wife. I have two beautiful daughters, one that just recently got married. That's very rewarding and keeps me, they keep me on my toes. Um, I work with my husband, and he is my partner in crime. And we have, I do everything in the kitchen, and then I like to call him the Schneider. He does everything else. So we've built a pretty big company, and we've had two restaurants in the past. We had Culinarian for 12 years, and that was in Montclair, New Jersey. And then we had Ariane Kitchen and Bar for about almost 8 years, and that was in Verona, New Jersey. So yes, I am from New Jersey. I'm born and bred Jersey girl. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Definitely a very talented individual, wearing that superwoman cape. So
Yeah.
definitely, definitely glad to have you, Chef.
Thank
So
you.
failure, struggle, heartbreak, fear, worry, and loneliness. These are some of the things that prevent us from taking risk in life. We often fear that we are not good enough and that if we try, we might fail. What we often forget is that at the other side of taking a risk is either success or a lesson learned. And it is not until you take that risk that you will break through those barriers. When you take risk, often the reward becomes more satisfying. This will lead us into our first question. What is the first step in taking a risk? How can someone overcome their fear of stepping into the unknown?
Mm. That's a great question. So for me, I'll never forget the first big, huge risk I took was I kind of was at a standstill in my life. I was in my, you know, mid to late 20s, and I was still living at home with mom, still in the same town I grew up in. I had left a job, and I was working at a really rinky dinky country club. And I'm like, this is not for me. And I decided with a girlfriend, we went to the Food and Wine in Aspen. God, this was like in I don't even know, 80, maybe it was like, I don't even know when it was. It was a long time ago. And we um, brought our resumes to hand out to all the chefs that were going to be there. Because I said, I got to get out of New Jersey. I got to get out. I need to see what else is out there. So I brought our resumes. I kind of glorified myself on my resume a little bit, which probably was a no-no because nobody offered me a job. And they offered my girlfriend a job. And I said, give me the phone number. I said, you're not going to take that job. I said, you give me that chef's phone number. I'm calling. I'm going to go. The job was in Texas. Stephen Piles was the chef. He's an amazing chef. We're still friends to the day. It was a new restaurant called Star Canyon. And because I said, I know you're not going to go, you're not moving. I said, I'm ready to move. So she gave me the phone number. I called the chef. He offered me like $8.50 an hour to be the grill girl. And that was my jam back then. I was I was a grill master. And I packed my things up in a little U-Haul truck and I just moved to Texas. And from there, is where I met my husband, and we met in the restaurant at Star Canyon. He was there as well. We wound up leaving there, moving to Chicago, where we built our life. We had our children there. I worked in several different restaurants in Chicago. Really, like you, having Chef Lamb as a mentor, I met one of my chef mentors in Chicago, Chef Bill Kim. He was awesome and is awesome, and yeah, and meeting my husband changed my life. I have children. We built our life. We opened restaurants together. So yeah, that was a big risk, with a wonderful reward.
Yeah, I gotta say that is a pretty big risk. Taking your friend's job, you could have risked, that relationship with your friend. You could have risked, stepping into the unknown in a new, area, and it
Yeah,
definitely led from your story led to a lot of rewards. And if you would have never taken that risk, who knows where you would have been? You might have not been married with your husband, with your kids.
I
So it's yeah,
time. I say it all the time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely, thank you for that, Chef Lamb.
Whoa, looking at it right now and think about when you're talking about, the past, present, future. And I'm back from CIA, had a great event, talking about the past, present, future. And when you take risks, it's not the word risk. It's about a journey in life that we're all chefs here. And, we concentrate on so much on food. And what I have learned is, when I talked about the yin and yang, it's like you have to create that balance, and only you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm doing is giving you some insights, some essence, and from there you decide, do you want to add this ingredient to it, or do you want to cook it more, or do you want to do it your way, right? So one way, when you take risks, just remember you're accountable for your action. And at the beginning, it's nerve-wracking, but at the end, it is beautiful because now you're delegating, and you're delegating the team, and you're saying, hey, you know what? Have faith in me. We will guide, we will make money, we will have great healthcare. So in the business, it's really like protecting, and especially like right now when you're talking about taking risks. And to me, it's like that's what life is really about, is can you rebrand and regroup, and can you make yourself better when you turn into ashes? And for me, that is something that I have learned from cancer 7 years ago. And I was like, wow, and taking risks is like, do you stop because this disease came into your life and destroyed your body, mind, spirit, and food, destroyed your career, destroyed everything? But I'm still alive. So that says, what are you going to do now? So to me, there's a lot of storylines right here where how it connects with food. So great question, but
Yeah.
it's a never open end. There's always a continuation. There's a lot of gray areas in taking
Mm-hmm.
risks. But
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
today, it is up to you, chef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then definitely from what you said too, yeah, taking that risk. If you would have said, okay, cancer is going to defeat me, what's the point of moving on? What's the point of, continuing? And, what's the point of getting on that track? If you would have never took that risk to say, hey, look, I'm going to do something about this. Who knows where you might have not been here today. So, it's all about just, taking that risk and moving on to that next step
Yeah.
is very, very important. Very, very important. Chef Ariane, were you going to say something?
No. I'm
Oh, okay.
just
Oh,
great.
perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then, all right. So, on to our next question. it could be very frightening to, to step into that unknown territory. Sometimes when we take these steps of faith with great courage, it can lead us to a path of victory that we could have never imagined for ourselves. Like kind of what you chefs were saying before with your stories. So I guess this will kind of add on to the last question. What is one of your biggest risks that you have taken in your life, and how did it get you to where you are today?
Ugh. I think a huge risk I took was, trying out for Top Chef and competing on Top Chef, because that was something that completely took me out of my comfort zone. And stepping out of your comfort zone alone is a huge risk because you never know what waters you're stepping on or whatever. So that was a huge risk because, you don't want to look like a jackass, for lack of a better word, on TV, or,
Exactly.
you want to let people know that you can cook, because sometimes you make such silly mistakes, especially when the cameras are on you. You want to go in there winning, you don't want to be the first one thrown off. Or so for me, that was a huge risk because I never left my kitchen. I was always in the kitchen. I never came out. Not even I barely even went out to like say hello to customers because I was just so comfortable in the kitchen. So stepping out of the kitchen and going into this world of unknown in TV land, cooking TV land, was, it was a little crazy. However, again, for me, I didn't win, but I did win in so many other ways. I won in, my business growth, my personal growth, my friendships that I still have today that still are giving me rewards today, to this day, from Top Chef, which was almost 17 years ago. So for me, that was a big risk with great, great rewards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that point where even though you didn't win, you still got something out of it. You still learned a lot. You still made those connections, and you still, met some people that impacted your career today. And I feel like it's just about, okay, saying I'm gonna do this, whatever happens, happens. But the worst that could happen is I learned something, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what happened to me. When I joined the ACF, a lot of my friends were telling me not to do it. They were saying it's a waste of money to go to this conference. What are you going to get out of it? And I ended up becoming the Young Chefs Club president and making connections that led me to multiple opportunities. And so it's all about, just saying, you know what? I know this is what I need to do, and just doing it.
Yeah.
Just going in, walking in with courage. So, Chef Lamb?
Whoa, you know what? I love it. You're listening and you're talking about something about taking risks. And right now, where I'm at right now, I mean, I could have just went into, back into the corporate world and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be an executive chef at a institution. And then I said, been there, done that. So now I'm a consultant, I'm a mentor, and I'm doing something that is taking all the worlds of development, training, motivating, inspiring, performing. And to me, there isn't anyone out there that could take all these areas and now, you become the dragon warrior. So me, I love sports, and sports is to dominate. Right now we're March Madness. I'm watching it, and it's beautiful to see the underdog, just beat the dragons, and they slay the dragons, or better yet, Goliath. That's what I meant, So for me, it's a different era, and you learn about people. And the thing about people is it's very difficult, and people are very stubborn. And the ones when you meet their minds are open, it is beautiful because now you're helping them in their journey, and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't have a bad experience. I just had some hiccups." So right now in society, that is what we're missing, right? We're missing someone saying, hey, I'm going to show you a recipe, but then you are going to take it and you're going to make it yours, and then it's going to be so beautiful. And that's the risk right there, because you're sharing your knowledge of someone, and that person could respect your knowledge, or that person could damage your knowledge. So to me, the risk that I'm in right now, it's worthwhile.
Definitely, definitely. So, as we know, all the risks that we take won't always lead us to success. As like, you know, some of the stories that you guys were sharing. So what is the biggest reward that you have received from a risk that you've taken? And also, I guess contrary to that, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned from taking a risk that you've taken?
Mhm. So for me, I, you know, I think the biggest risk too was, opening up my own business for the first time. My husband and I had been a chef, for other people for so long. And then, you finally just say, well, do we do it on our own? Do we do it on our own? And, we took every last penny we had to get this business up and running. And, you always are like, when the first day comes and you open up the doors and you're like, are they going to come? I think I remember the first day we opened up, we got like 3 customers. And then the next day we had 6. And then the next day it was 12. So we, you never know. You're like, why are they going to come to my restaurant? Why are they going to like my food, not their food down the road, or, better or whatever. So that unknowing of when you take the risk to do something, especially on your own, when this was our baby, culinary in our first restaurant was, it's such an amazing restaurant, and people still talk about it to this day, which always puts a smile on my face, because it really was such an amazing, and it was such a beautiful restaurant. And, like that unknowingness, it was so scary. And our children were young at the time too, so you just never know. But then, there were days, we maybe couldn't make the bills. We couldn't pay the bills, because, that we didn't have a good week, or there was a storm that shut us down for, 3 extra days. So you never know. Anything can happen. But we always picked ourselves up. Yes, was there a lot of tears? I'm sure lots of tears, but you pick yourself up and you realize that things will get better. It might take time, but it'll happen. Things take a little longer, but it always will work out. That's what you start telling yourself. It does work out. It might not be to the, it might not be how you want it to work out. It might take a different road or a different turn, but eventually it does work out.
Definitely. And I think I love what you said. Like when you're able to look back at everything you've done, you're saying, wow, I was able to get through this, and it makes the journey a little bit more sweeter, because you're like, look what I've been able to get through. And, now I know what I could overcome,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most important and rewarding parts about it,
Yeah.
Chef Lamb.
Whoa, come on, Isaiah. This is the story of us, and talk about risk taking and think about rejection, right? Because when you take risks, you fail and you get rejected. And that feeling sucks, because you're like, hey, I'm giving you all my love, man. I'm giving you 100%. I'm giving you my work ethic and, my dedication, my commitment. And suddenly you just kind of slap me away, or you're like, I'm not going to bother, right? And for me, that's part of the journey. And to me, that's turbulence. That's part of the game. But the rewards right here, we're living it. The rewards, being in front of some amazing culinary students at CIA, at Danny Theater, and just, doing a jam session and letting them know what freestyle lifestyle means. And to me, it's really saying, passing and sharing, and here's a gift for you, because no one else will give you what I just gave you. And to me, because it's connecting with a loved one. In one way, it's like, like the chef mentioned, you're a parent. And when you have kids, what do? You give them the best. So this way they will survive in this world that it's good, bad, and ugly. And you have to give them skills to be successful of like, this is what reality is right here. So in cooking, the food part's the easiest part, because you're going to meet a lot of mentors that are going to show you some beautiful technique of how food could be. But for me, it's like, how are you as a human being? How do you treat others? How do you lead others? And are you proud of yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror? That right there is probably the most amazing gift that you could share with someone.
100%. Those relationships that you build along the way is, I think, one of the most impactful and best parts of the reason why we do what we do. So as chefs and as professionals, I think it's super important to continually grow and continually want to grow and do things we haven't done before and set new goals and reach untouched territories. So we have about like 8 minutes left. So this next question, what is the next risk that you want to challenge yourself to take? What is the next boundary that you want to break, and what will be required to get there?
So for me, this is a great question, because I am at the point in my life where I am, I'm changing my path. I sold my last restaurant in 21, and I've kind of had to not reinvent myself, but really figure out what I wanted to do. So, and that's how I got involved with Carla and Amanda, and working with them as their like culinary producer. So I travel so much, which is so wonderful. But then again, I still need a little bit more. So my husband and I are still doing our catering. But then I think about what I'm going to do in the next few years. Like, well, how am I going to finish my career off? I'm not going to work forever, but I love working. So I really can't think about giving it up. But I said, how can I do things differently? As you get older, you don't move as quick as you used to move. So I've decided I've started to take sign language. I want to become an interpreter, and I want to become an interpreter for our culinary world, because it's something that you really don't see. So it's been really hard. It's been really challenging. And I think the boundary that I'm trying to break is my own boundary of staying with it and keeping with it, and not giving up, because I'm one to get very lazy in my own ways. So I want to really prove to myself that I can do this, because it is something different, but it's something that I'm really enjoying. And I think it's something that can be so rewarding. And for me, going back to the risks, why it's such a huge risk is because I was a horrible student. I did not enjoy school. My favorite class was home economics, obviously. But
you and me both, Chef.
So I'm literally walking into college. I've never been on a college, except for my kids, but I've never been into a college class. So I laugh at it a little bit, but I'm so proud of myself. So that's to be continued. It's going to take me a few years, hopefully a good 2 years, but I will keep you posted on that.
Definitely, Chef. A lot to be proud of, and that's definitely a big risk to take. Like, it's a whole change in everything. So yeah, definitely something to be proud of. Chef Lamb?
Whoa, come on. That's a beautiful question. And what Chef just mentioned about, as far as her journey. And for me, I could be retired, or I should be retired. But for what I'm doing, body, mind, spirit, and food, it is so beautiful. because the mind is a very powerful. Your mouth speaking words to the world, because in the world the problems are the same, but then are the solutions effective and practical? And like I said, at the presentation at CIA, it costs zero. You don't have to go and purchase something. Everything is right in front of you. So to me, that is the biggest challenge of far as, when you're talking and connecting with someone, especially someone in the culinary hospitality industry, and saying, hey, it's a great profession, but you need to have your mise en place set up. And these are my mise en place that I'm going to share with you. So to me, there's a lot of jam session ahead. There's a lot of freestyle, man. And used to be a DJ in college, and I love music and think about music. It lasts for eternity.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, you're
You
right.
You like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just all natural. Let it flow, let it jam. Yep, that's what we're about over here. That's what we're about. For sure. So with about 2 minutes left, a quick 30-second piece of advice that you have for future culinarians, just people in the industry or just anyone in general. Chef Ariane?
Follow your heart. Follow your heart. And your gut. I like to think they really are your truth tellers for your body. So, and take the risk. Take
Take the
the risk.
risk. Mm-hmm. The most definitely. Chef Lamb?
Well, make sure your eyes, your ears, your mind, and your heart are completely open. Never close it, because what happened is you're going to get the good, bad, and ugly of knowledge, of wisdom, of taste, of food. And once you have that, your brain starts to break it down, and you start to becoming an engineer in a computer. And that's where the growth starts. So, and you could call me and say, Chef Lamb, that advice right there was right on. So I'm waiting for your phone call.
Definitely, definitely. So I just want to say this so far has been one of my favorite topics, because I feel like taking risk and being able to step into something with courage is super important. And I feel like a lot of times in life, why people aren't able to achieve their goals most of the time is because they're afraid to take that risk, and they're everybody's saying not to do it. Even in my life, sometimes my parents are like, don't do this, don't do that, why are you doing this? But I'm like, I know I need to do this, so this is what I'm gonna do. And when I step across that boundary, is when success comes. And you just got to take that risk sometimes. So definitely a very, very impactful call. Thank you so much, Chef Ariane. I love all the storytelling. I love all everything that you brought to this call. It definitely means a lot. And I know that the people listening will be greatly impacted, and not only them, but the people that they're connected with will also be impacted very, very much. And you're helping, build a legacy for everyone to remember. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much, Chef Lamb. I wish we could continue on longer. The call is about to end in like 30 seconds. So I really appreciate everything. And thank you guys so much for your time. And see you on the next call. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.